Let's start with a crazy scenario. Imagine the leader of this huge nation-sweeping movement, a guy who stood up to emperors and popes, just suddenly vanishes. Poof, gone. Well, this isn't some movie plot. It's exactly what happened to Martin Luther, right at the peak of the Reformation. And this is the story of where he went and why he had to risk everything to come back. It's a huge question, right? When that one central voice just goes silent, what happens next? What fills that void? Does the whole thing just fall apart? Or does something way more chaotic take over? This was the question all of Germany was suddenly forced to answer.
Okay, so picture this. Right after he makes this incredible, defiant stand for his beliefs, Martin Luther is just gone. Snatched off a forest road, nobody knew where he was, or if he was even still breathing.
And the reaction was immediate. I mean, the whole country was just buzzing. Everywhere you went, people were asking, where is Luther? And the most popular and scariest rumor was that his enemies had finally gotten to him, that they'd silenced him for good.
Now, people weren't just sad, they were getting angry. We're talking thousands of people swearing they would avenge his death. And funny enough, this actually backfired on his enemies. They thought they'd won, but now they were looking at a potential uprising and were absolutely terrified.
Then this secret message starts to trickle out, calming everyone down a bit. Okay, he hasn't been murdered. He's alive. He's a prisoner, yeah, but he's safe. You'd think that might slow things down, but nope. It was like pouring gasoline on the fire. People got even more fired up for his cause, and the Reformation just exploded in his absence. But here's the twist. With Luther off the board, a new problem popped up, one nobody saw coming. A kind of counterfeit Reformation started to take root, led by people who claimed they were just carrying on his work.
And the conflict came down to one huge disagreement. Luther's entire thing was built on this one idea. The Word of God, the Bible, is the final say. You have to test everything against it. But these new prophets, totally different story. They were saying, nope, we get special messages straight from heaven. Our feelings, our impressions, that's the real guide. They told people to forget the book and just listen to the Spirit.
And the results? Oh, they were a total disaster. People literally started tossing their Bibles aside. The university in Wittenberg, which was like ground zero for the Reformation, was thrown into complete chaos. Students were just walking out, abandoning their studies. This new fanaticism was rotting the whole movement from the inside out. You can just imagine, right? Luther's old enemies, the Romanists, are watching all this chaos, and they are loving it. They basically said, yes, just one more push, and this whole thing is over. It just goes to show you how dangerously close the Reformation came to failing, not from outside attack, but from this internal collapse. Meanwhile, all this is happening, and where's Luther? He's hidden away in the Wittenberg castle, and he's starting to hear these reports about the chaos back in Wittenberg. He knew he had to do something, but getting back? Well, that wasn't going to be easy. This news just tore him apart. He felt like the work he'd started, which he believed was God's work, not his, was being completely corrupted. The idea of just sitting there, hidden and safe, while everything fell apart, he couldn't stand it. He decided he had to go back.
So, just how risky was this? I mean, we're not talking a little bit risky. This was basically a suicide mission.
Let's just break down how bad it was. First, he was under an imperial ban. That means he was an outlaw. Anyone, anywhere, could kill him on the spot. No questions asked, no legal trouble. And his own friends? They were forbidden by law from even giving him a piece of bread or a place to sleep. He had zero legal protection. None. And yet, knowing all of that, Luther writes this absolutely incredible line. He's basically saying, yeah, I know no prince can protect me. That's fine. I've got a higher protection. He was walking straight back into the lion's den, totally exposed, with nothing but his faith. Okay, so the stage is set. Luther walks back into Wittenberg, and everyone's holding their breath thinking, here we go, it's going to be a huge fight. But his plan was something nobody expected. He wasn't there to fight fire with fire. He didn't bring soldiers. He didn't bring a sword. His weapon was the same one he'd been using all along, the Word of God. He knew you couldn't beat fanaticism with force. You can't change what's in someone's heart by hitting them over the head. His whole strategy was about winning minds, not battles. So here's the game plan, and it's brilliant in its simplicity.
Step 1, just get up and preach the Bible. Step 2, let the word itself do the heavy lifting. The ideal was to capture people's hearts and minds with the truth. And he believed that if he could do that, all the crazy, false ideas would just, well, they'd fall apart on their own.
And I love this next quote because it just says everything about his attitude. Looking back on it all, he said, I didn't do anything. I was just sleeping or drinking my Wittenberg beer with my friends, and the word did everything. It's just an amazing statement about the power of an idea. And the wild thing is, it worked. For a solid week, that's all Luther did. He just preached. He calmly taught and corrected from the pulpit to these huge crowds. And that spell of fanaticism that had gripped the whole city, it just broke. The people came back to their senses, and the leaders of all that chaos, they just packed up and left town, totally defeated.
But Luther knew that just putting out the fire wasn't enough. While he was tucked away in that castle, he wasn't just hiding. He was working on a permanent solution, a tool that would stop this kind of thing from ever happening again.
And what he brought back with him, well, it changed everything. He gave the people of Germany the New Testament, translated for the very first time into their own language. That book, which had always been locked away in Latin so only priests and scholars could read it, was suddenly open for everybody. And think about how huge this was. It wasn't just for the rich or the educated, it was for everyone. Rich, poor, smart, not so smart, it didn't matter. We're told that soon, laborers and soldiers, village teachers, even women and kids, knew the Bible better than most of the priests did. This was the real start of mass literacy.
The change was incredible. It sparked this massive awakening all across the country. People weren't just being told what to believe anymore. They could read it for themselves, think for themselves, and even defend their own beliefs using the scriptures. It was a revolution of the mind.
So that's what it all leaves us with, right? Luther's story really makes you ask this one big question. He stared down an empire and calmed a rebellion, not with an army, but with a book he translated. So what really is more powerful for changing the world? A sword or an idea that you put directly into the hands of the people?